Welcome, guys. A couple of things. Did anybody catch that link to the video I sent? Ooh, it's a new series, evidently, that's being hosted and narrated by a former movie director and some other aspects of the movie business he was in, and it's called Locomotion. And he's going to be going through movies that had trains in them and do like a behind the scenes thing. And I'm almost positive I sent the link, but if not, I'll send it again. And there's two parts, and he did the one he did on was Buster Keaton and the General. And there are some very interesting facts behind that. And then in part two, he goes into it might be part two, I forget, but he goes into some detail about the General and the Texas. And there's a couple of clips in there where he's showing John Ott's lithographs of the General and the Texas, and he mentions you. I like, whoa, does John know about this? He gave you full credit for it, and it was really cool. Did you ever hear about that, John?
Anyway, no, never did.
Wow, yeah,
Nobody
it was.
contacted me.
Huh. He also had the painting that Dave Schneider commissioned on one of the paintings of the Raiders, and he had that in there too. It was really cool. And my guess, and he mentioned, of course, the Great Locomotive Chase by Disney, but I'm imagining he's going to be doing some behind the scenes with some very cool movies. So that's something to look out for. Locomotion, it's a YouTube thing. The second was Christina Zambri called me, and we were talking about getting the word out. And she asked if we had a Facebook page, and I said no. I said, as far as I know, nobody does really Facebook, or probably wouldn't want to take that on. But she said if anybody wanted to use Facebook as a medium or a channel for us to connect outside in the world, she'd be more than willing to assist or support the individual if they were up for that. So I think I'll just put that in an email and see if anybody steps up.
My wife sisters 2 or 3 times a day or a week, and they just sit there and they're on it and they just go. There's no time limits or anything like that, and it's good quality video and good sound
On Facebook?
on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how she does it, but
right.
Her younger sister's one that set it up, and I can find out. That's not a problem.
The setup isn't. We got Christina to do that. We would just need somebody in the group that would oversee that, and monitor it and keep it up to date. Yeah.
It's basically a phone call, basically.
Yeah.
But then it's transmitted through Facebook to your phone and stuff like that, and it's really good quality.
Huh. Well,
and they're doing quilting is what they're doing. That's their hobby.
Right. Maybe Charlie Taylor or Bill Myers will be up to do that.
You were talking about a page, though. I mean, just kind of like a site where we can also leave posts, and kind of like the Groups IO page, only with pictures and posts and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Where it would be, because there's some groups, I think, Mark, to your point, that I know our Model Railroad Club has a Facebook page. And that's where we advertise and what have you.
We do a couple of pages for our reenacting as well. I would say that, well, yeah, whoever steps up, I think they're going to want to make sure that you want to control the membership, and you may actually have to keep it private so you don't get people dropping in and leaving spam and other stuff, which is a big problem on Facebook on a lot of the pages.
Yeah. So Charlie, you're familiar with Facebook at all?
I used it for like a couple of days.
Oh,
no, years ago. There was a time that Bernie only was putting his photos on Facebook, and I mean, I was still practicing then, and I immediately got some, spam and some, you know, nasty things on it. So I've never done it since.
Wow.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. I was just telling the group that Christina Zambri called me a couple days ago. And, in the topic of extending our visibility. And she was asking about if we had a Facebook page or blah, blah. And I said, well, ask if anybody's interested in managing that. Because she said she'd be more than willing to collaborate with that individual. So it's not all falling on them. I mean, that's pretty much what she does, is the marketing for the NMRA. So we'll see if we can plant the seed in someone's motivation.
Well, I would be willing to try to use it. I don't want to spearhead it, because I mean, I hadn't used it in years. But
Yeah.
if that's what the group decides to do, then
Well, you can have several people who moderate. And the best thing it would be we could selectively pull photographs and put over onto the page, and that a little bit of our materials, which is really about all you do. You just want everybody to know it's a Civil War group.
Right.
And then the moderators can control content. I don't know how to control content on
Yeah.
Facebook. I can.
For a while, there was an American Civil War Railroad site on Yahoo.
But not Facebook.
Oh, I'm sorry, on Facebook.
You're saying there was a Civil War group on Facebook?
There was one.
Oh,
So if it's defunct now, I do not know.
It kind of got neglected, and I haven't been on it in maybe a year or so, simply because there wasn't anything new being posted. Unless we want to do outreach to new people, I don't see a Facebook page doing anything different than our email circle does.
okay.
We share photos, we tell each other what's going on, we get the dates and so forth for the Zoom meetings. I don't know what else Facebook could give this immediate group, and I'm really not certain we want to do that kind of a scale of an outreach to find new people. We're likely to be kind of flooded with a whole bunch of
On these,
what, for lack of a better word, people we'd have to babysit and kind of guide through what.
no, didn't want to do that. Okay, good. So I'm gonna take that off the table as something to consider. Facebook eliminated. Hey, Bill, Ron, and for those of you that didn't hear me mention it earlier, I sent a email with a link to this YouTube site called Locomotion. Did you guys get that? Nobody saw that, huh?
No.
I guess it didn't go out. Wow.
Well, for me, if I got the email and I sort of like clicked it, put it on a tab and all that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. It's called Locomotion. And as I was mentioning, there's a fellow who used to be a director and very involved in the movie industry. And he started this series called that focuses on trains and movies. And the one I just saw, which I think is his first one, which was in 2 parts, was on The General by Buster Keaton. And he goes behind the scenes and he talks about all these things that we didn't know about. And it was very fascinating. And in one of those, he even shows 2 lithographs from John, one of the Texas and one of the General. And he mentions Schneider's SMR painting that he had commissioned. It was fun, very fun. So I'll send that out again, and hopefully it'll stick. So welcome, guys. This is one of our potpourri meetings. There's nothing planned, So this is like improvisation. So if there's something on your mind, you have a question about something, or open up a topic, forthwith.
The funny thing is, I just looked at the channel for Locomotion. I'm already subscribed to it about a year ago.
Good. All right.
But they looks like they only got about seven videos. That's
Episodes.
about it.
Yeah. 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 It was fun. It's amazing what Keaton did. I mean,
Mm.
his movie goes down in the same category as like Citizen Kane. It's considered to be one of the all-time great American movies. And what was cool is listening to the backstory about what happened to him in his life after that movie, because it had like a $400,000 budget, and it doubled, and it just went sideways after that. But I'm not going to say anything more, so you can enjoy the viewing. What else? What do I got?
Have I got any new projects?
Charlie, were you going to say something?
Well, I have a few minutes loaded. I mean, after everyone else.
The only project I got going on is Saturday. I'm meeting a bunch of fellas from our division, NMRA division, and we're supposed to get certified as AP judges for the AP NMRA. So I'm looking forward to that. They need some models to judge as practice. So I'm going to take out the cotton press and a couple of photos, and watch them just rip me apart about what isn't in the photo or what have you. But what's great about these guys, they don't know squat, about this stuff. So I could say, there were lots of cotton presses made in different kinds of ways. So yeah, so that should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. It's a great way to just see how people do their modeling, and it's fascinating to listen to others talk about how things are constructed, and it's a great method for, not method so much, but a nice channel for camaraderie and fellowship as well. So I'm looking forward to that on Saturday. And I've been tearing apart some locomotives. A couple that used to run really good ain't running so well. So I'm like, wow. I'm wondering if those nylon gears and those generals eventually start to wear out, and I might need to replace them, because one makes this like clicking noise, and I know it's got to be in the gears because nothing else is rubbing. So as much as I don't want to do that, I might have to, I think Northwest Short Line or somebody makes some metal drive shaft and gear shaft that I can replace it with. So that'll be one of my next big projects. And then an op session in October. I'm ready to get back to it. So Bill, maybe Phil. Oh no, well, maybe. That's it for me.
One update I have, which is more of a back date. So I was moving to Texas, and Joel, I thought I saw you the other day, but anyway, as I moved, I've only a couple weeks ago got all my stuff here. Just about every diorama I had and so on has stuff broken on it, and the layout, I said ship it flat. They didn't pay attention. They shipped it sideways, so a ton of stuff fell off and so on. And I've been so busy setting up stuff up, I haven't even got to it. So I'm at the moment, I'm not hardly doing any modeling. I just got to get my place set up.
Yeah.
I miss you guys. And so I know I've missed a couple sessions, so I apologize for that. But anyway, hopefully I'll get back on course.
What town did you move to?
Little town called Humble, that's just north of Houston.
Yeah. Well, you may have, since I'm in Kingwood. Where do you think you saw me?
At Walmart off between 1960 and Atascocita.
No, I rarely go to that Walmart. I usually go to Fort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doppelganger.
But PM me, and I'll invite you over.
Okay.
Not that I'm in, you know, I might even have the T-track layout up,
Ah,
practicing it to go to the convention. So, because I'm in the process of adding to my home layout, I'm going to put in a little section for Washington, D.C. and a transfer table instead of Long Bridge.
Wow.
Okay.
That'll increase the switching moves a lot coming
Cool.
into the city of Alexandria to go to the docks and move on further. Okay, looking forward to catching up with you, Walter. I'm glad you're here. And I've got glue if you need help.
Okay.
So Joel, you're gonna add a linear transfer table for locomotives?
Going to add a transfer table to replace the Long Bridge across the Potomac.
Oh.
So you can switch for operations. So you can switch DC and then move the transfer table over and hook into Alexandria. And I don't have to have a bridge in front of the door to the bathroom.
Okay.
I am at all times somewhat more practical at this age.
Priorities. You have to set priorities.
Yes, if there was a day I would have just made it a duck under, but I don't bend that way anymore.
But is it like a float for an entire train? You kind of take a train on a little Rubbermaid dolly and roll it over to.
Yeah, it'll go on a dolly and come over. The transfer table will actually look like a piece of the Long Bridge.
Cool.
Oh,
So you pull the train onto there, and then you will take it across to the other side of the Potomac, because that's just really what it is a long bridge across the Potomac, right? But you can. Bob Cohen had told me about finding the foundations to it when the river was low one day.
That's cool.
Because the current bridge is about 50 yards from there. They've done a little track alignment, but the historic bridge is right next to the current Long Bridge.
Okay.
Which is if you're taking Amtrak south, you come out of Union Station, you'll cross Long Bridge, heading to New Orleans, which is a fun trip. There's a place for a convention in New Orleans. I don't know what it does with trains, but it sounds like a good place for a party.
yeah, I can't deny that, man. Too bad we don't have a member down there.
We have
Well,
4 members in the Houston area right now.
Yes, I think so.
Uh-oh, that sounds dangerous down there.
Yeah, except for the fact that Civil War in Texas is not really a war we talk about. I can take you to all the rail yards, which are currently buried under huge rail yards. And you can go to Galveston and you can see the big new Santa Fe sitting on top of the historic rail yards by the Strand. But if we did it, we'd probably do it. I tried to do it in conjunction with the Galveston Train Museum, probably. But there's not much in historic collections here. Most of the equipment was loved to death in the lumber camps of the Piney Woods.
Joel, I got a question for you. What locomotives are you using, and are you running DC or DCC?
I am principally using Atlas 440s. I have some Bachmann. That one right there. Yes, that's the Northern Central. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And they occasionally, if you've got one and it doesn't run well, sort of take it a little bit apart, put it back together again, it will. Sometimes I think the guys over in the factory didn't quite get everything in a line when they assembled it.
Oh, this one runs pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first run had some QC problems, but the fix was really just sort of unscrew it, jiggle it a little bit, lubricate it, screw it back together again. It worked. It was just gears were not quite aligned, and those little side rods were a little tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are good, and I hope that Bachman does do the Thatcher Perkins
Yeah.
as their 460, which is an 1863 10-wheeler. So
Great.
and they said they went to the museum to measure it. So
And Joel, you do DC, right?
I have DCC.
Oh,
3 locos are DCC, but the rest are DC. One of the reasons is is that the Orange and Alexandria is single tracked.
right.
So if you meet at a siding. So
Yeah.
there's no arguments that way. So
Right. Right.
and I'm getting a little old to do that micro fine wire solder with those
Oh,
itty bitty teeny tiny wires in the
Oh.
tender that doesn't have much room.
yeah.
Oh, I do have a new manufacturer. Let's see if I can get this to, where's my camera? Over here. This is RS Laser Kits. RS Laser Kits makes T-track modules.
T-track modules.
Yes, they also make a whole heck of a lot of old-timey buildings and wagons in HO and in a few things in a. So I'll put their stuff in, but this is the new one that I'll have put together at the convention.
Cool.
What's in it? I couldn't quite see. What's the building itself?
This is a T-track module. It has unboxing time.
Oh, the module
All the
itself.
parts. The deck comes cut in half, so you just snap it together. He's got all the little leveling screws
Mm.
with the little holes in the top, so you can level on the table from the top. Track and a skyboard. And he makes singles, doubles, and curves.
Are these foot square or 2 feet square?
They are not quite because they're metric
Millimeters.
Oh,
because of the track. It's Kaido track, so they meet the Kaido track roughly a foot square, a little over.
okay. Foot square.
The one you've got is bigger because it's a curve. So
Right. Right.
You know, that whole kit looks like an O-scale sidewalk. That is ridiculous.
I know. This is just a real quick unboxing. I picked these up at the convention when I was talking to the guy that makes them, and so it's RS Laser Kits. But he has a website, and it's just RS Laser Kits, all one word.
So when you put that together in the the Memphis workshop,
Yeah,
we could probably put you just in the closet, right? I mean, you just need a.
Well, no, in Charlie's place, he's got a very big closet.
A room about your size to do the entire Orange and Alexandria.
Oh, that's great.
All the way out to Orange County Courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do occupy. It's a quarter of HO and an eighth the space of O scale. So
Who put out that kit?
say again, who puts it out?
Yeah,
It's RS Laser Kits.
I as a
Robert Sam, RS.
okay.
Let me stick it in the chat. Okay, more.
Oh, good. Thanks,
Yeah.
Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Walt, just to go back to you for a second, when did you move in?
Well, I left Los Angeles on July 10th. My stuff finally arrived here about 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
So I'm just now getting stuff put in.
right. Yeah, you'll be a little while. We'll see you after Christmas.
Yeah.
It's all right.
As far as anything done, it probably will be.
Just if you need help, holler. It's 10 minutes from here to Humble.
Okay.
Ooh, wow. That's
Over
cool.
there in Humble, Texas.
Wow.
I'll
Wow,
meet you at
this is
the
the
City Cafe
first-
and get you a chicken fried steak, okay?
Okay.
This is the first time I think we've had members this close together. Jeez.
Bernie and I.
Well, yeah, it's true. That's right. When you were in Virginia, that's right. You were right. That's right. You guys did a lot of work together.
Yeah, we were. Hey, look, the Home Depot was across the street where he had to go get his lumber.
Across the street
And
from you.
his house was 2 blocks from my son's high school.
Convenient. God.
Okay.
Hey, Phil, how are things on the Santa Fe?
Okay, I've been working on a rolling stock project just to not have to focus too much mental energy on it because I've been really busy with work. But I just turned in my project today, and I go to Hawaii in 2 days, and so when I get back from that, I will probably pick it up again. So,
Wow.
You going on vacation?
yep,
How long are you going?
2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Too short.
I need it. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm working on a big batch of refrigerator cars, the Wix reefers. I can find a picture of them if you want, but yeah, they're Santa Fe reefer cars from 1895 or so. So
Now, you're not scratch building these, right?
no, I'm scratch building them. I'm scratch building 12 at a time.
God bless you.
That's a task.
Yeah. Yeah, so you do one, and then you do one piece of it going in, and then you get 24 more to cut off of that piece of styrene, or 23 more, because you got to do 2 sides. Let me see if I can find that picture.
The most I'll ever do anymore is maybe 3 at a time.
Scratch build, man.
Oh man.
I'll only do 4 BTS kits at one time. After a while, I'm going cross-eyed.
So this is the car that I'm working on right now.
Oh,
So it was I was originally going to try and print out this door and all the features on it as a 3D print.
right.
But the 3D printer I have can't do the lines in the siding. So I'm doing it all the old-fashioned way with scribe siding that I cut out. I had to figure out how to cut these reliably at a 45-degree angle for the doors. And most of the hardware details will be decaled instead of any kind of thing that's attached. So I find that like the molded plastic hinges and stuff like that are too thick for me. So I just put a decal on there with some like some light spots to represent the light hitting the bolts and that kind of thing.
You said the car you're scratch building from styrene?
Yeah, so basically I'm using my core system. So I 3D printed a core that sets all the dimensions up, and then I used resin casting to make 12 of them. And then I basically just skin that with styrene and wood.
Okay. And whose trucks and wheel sets are you using?
I'm using the Trout Creek Thielsons. With Intermountain wheel sets. I take the KDs out of them and I put Intermountains in. They seem to run a little better that way. The Trout Creek trucks are a little narrow for the KD wheel sets. You need a shorter axle length. I can't get the Reeboks or whatever they had that had the shorter axle length anymore. So at least I can't seem to find them. I think they're out of business.
Yes.
How often, or how recently were you in touch with Trout Creek?
Actually quite a while ago, I've been working off of a big supply that I bought from them.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I was just wondering because they haven't had their trucks available for quite some time, as far as I can tell.
Oh, okay.
It looks like, do they have a lifter for the pin?
Yeah, it looks like they do have a lifter for the pin.
Mhm.
So,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's still a Lincoln pin coupling. The Santa Fe adopted air brakes early, but they waited until the last possible second on couplers.
Hmm.
Interesting.
So I just use Surgeon Engineering Type E's, though. They're smaller than the KDs, so they look a little bit better. KD's number 5s look insane on these. It's like half the size of the car.
Have you tried KD 711s?
I've seen them, but I've pretty much equipped like over 100 cars, maybe more than that, with Surgeons. So
Gotcha.
I've decided to stick with that at this point. And I've noticed that the Surgeons, like on the KDs, let me stop sharing. Let's see, stop share.
Yeah.
There.
There you
Now
go.
you can maybe see me a little better. On the KDs, they have kind of like a draft angle on the couplers that when you pull on them, it causes them to come up like that in the castings. The
Okay.
Surgeons don't have that. They'll stay together no matter how rough the track is, unless they are completely, even if it's just a tiny overlap, they'll stay together, less than a quarter of the height of the coupler. So you can have some pretty rough track and they won't come uncoupled on their own unless you happen to rip the drawbar out of the car, which has happened to me once or twice on ones that I just had super glued in instead of screwed.
Mhm.
Walter,
Now-
could you resend your information?
Sure.
When I dropped out a minute ago, I lost the chat.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
no problem.
Quick question, when did refrigerator cars start becoming a thing?
The very late 1880s and into the 1890s, I would say. There were earlier examples, but certainly on the Santa Fe, they really got into them in the 1890s.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, parallel with the California fruit industry.
yeah.
Yeah, what
I
happened?
wanted to add a little bit of dark humor to your layout. A few years back, Caboose Hobbies in Denver was selling a special run of old style reefers lettered for the Alfred Packer Meat Company. And I don't know if you know the story of Alfred Packer, but he was a guy that got stuck in a blizzard in southern Colorado up in the Rockies someplace, or maybe the San Juans, and he ate 6 of his companions on the trip. It was unclear whether they died of the cold or he helped them along. And when he was sentenced, the judge pronounced sentence saying, "There used to be 7 Democrats in this county, and you ate 6 of them. I hereby sentence you to death for that heinous
Oh.
crime." Yeah. And anyways, but they had an old style reefer that was actually lettered for the Alfred Packer Meat Company. So one of those would be kind of cool to find and stick on the layout for a little.
Yeah.
Dark humor.
So I don't want to put you on a spot, Charlie, but did you say there was something that you wanted to show or no?
You said Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got something. Whatever. when everybody else is through, or not necessarily.
Well, I would have to say I'm in the getting ready to start a new project. I've done a Hunter Line Queen Post Bridge. I'm in just I wound up finishing up the Queen Post covered bridge. But right now there's no instructions on how to do this, but I'm planning on taking the Hunter Line covered bridge and making a Queen Post covered truss bridge where only the trusses are covered, not the entire bridge. Which I guess is basically a different. It's sort of like halfway between an uncovered bridge and a covered bridge. I guess it was also a cheaper. It was cheaper than building a full covered bridge,
Oh, you
but
got your pine cone?
but
Yeah, have fun with your pine cone.
so that's it's one of those things that since there's no instructions on that, it's gonna be a little bit more of a challenge than the other two that had instructions. So, and I believe I can't think of the name of it, but there's a 2-foot narrow gauge tourist railroad up in Maine that just refurbished one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Let's see.
Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington.
Yeah, that's the name
Yeah.
of it. I saw that bridge. I was gonna say I saw that. I think I saw one of those at the WWNF earlier this year, back in June.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it looks like being all nice and refurbished and all that. It just looks like two wooden walls that are there.
Yeah, it's kind of like a girder bridge, but yeah, it is how it kind of looks like, right? But it's a wood truss that's covered.
Yes.
So yeah.
I actually have a book on Vermont covered bridges, and it shows the different covered bridges that Vermont had, and apparently there was one. They actually had pictures also of the covered truss bridge. That's actually how I found out about them. And they made both road versions and railroad versions. There was a road version apparently less than 10 miles away from me. Which interestingly, the bridge right now is closed off. I think it's just a normal open truss, but I guess they're planning on replacing it and all that. And I've been really half tempted to turn around and says, "Hey, it used to be a covered truss bridge way back when, and right now Vermont does not have any." So it'd be resurrecting something that Vermont used to have.
Get it protected under the historic buildings thing. Historic places.
Yeah, that might be a possibility because there's the West Arlington covered bridge, I think, is set up that way. Which is not very far from where Norman Rockwell used to live. Apparently, most of the paintings that Norman Rockwell did when he was very well working for the Washington Post, he was in Arlington at the time, and most of the models that he used were residents of Arlington, Vermont.
Arlington Seminary, is that Virginia, DC, or where's Arlington Cemetery?
No,
Which
no, no.
right next to the Pentagon in Virginia, Arlington. Arlington House is on the Virginia side.
So I take it that means Arlington was a city in England somewhere? If that name's going to be in several places.
Arlington House is, at the time of the Civil War, was Alexandria County.
That was Robert E. Lee's old mansion, right?
Well, that was the Custis family mansion.
Right.
Yep.
Lee was living in it as the estate executor, but the title was actually the Custis families, which is why after the war we had to buy it from the Custis family.
I think everybody knows the story about how Arlington got its start as a cemetery, right?
Well, yes.
Anybody not know?
I don't know.
I
Would
do
you like
not
to kick in your ride, Bobby Lee?
Yeah, Joel, check me on this, but there was a Union general or officer that decided to do something kind of nefarious to Lee by burying all the dead on his property. And there were so many that were there, it was eventually consecrated and created as a national cemetery. Is that close, Joel?
It's close. I think nefarious is not the term. It was deliberate. The actual national cemetery at that time was in Alexandria. And that's where most of the U.S. military railroad dead were buried. It's down at Alexandria National Cemetery. It's right over next door to my old church's cemetery, with the standard gatehouse and all that.
This federal or Confederate?
It's Alexandria was occupied from like the second week of the war. It was a Union city.
Oh, okay.
The only, I think the worst casualty was Ellsworth had come into town. Daniel P. Ellsworth, Colonel, with his fire zouaves, who was a strong political supporter of Abraham Lincoln. And the Marshall House in downtown Alexandria had a flag of rebellion on it. It wasn't the Stars and Bars. I'm not sure which one it was, but the Army crossed the river. The Alexandria, Virginia militia unit hightailed it out of town and spent most of the war in the defenses of Richmond as a heavy artillery unit. Their major casualties were taken at Sailor's Creek, I think, when they were shot by other Confederates because they had blue coats on. That really is kind of what happened. And then Alexandria was well inside the works of the Washington defenses, the entire ridge around it. I have I have a couple of books on that. That'd be almost a fun presentation. If anyone would like to hear it, how the defenses of Washington were laid out. But that's really kind of the backstory on Arlington. Then after the war, it turned out it wasn't owned by Robert E. Lee. And there was a lawsuit, and it was upheld that the owner of it had not been in rebellion. It was one of the members of the Custis family. Bobby Lee was just living there out of the goodness of his heart. So by that time, though, it had so many dead on it, we bought it. I think it was like $60,000 in $1870, which is a good piece of change.
Yeah. Okay, Charlie, why don't you share with us what you got there, mate?
All right, let me see if I can do this.
All right.
Okay. Did that work?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, hot dog. All right. Well, for those of you who just crawled out from under a rock, the convention's coming here in a couple of weeks. And so I mean, it's been here before. And we've had a real good turnout in the past, had a lot of fun, and I hope a lot of people can make it this year. As far as the layout goes, I'm gonna go over just, some of the major changes and updates and reasons to come visit. So this is my nephew, Will Shirey. He's the muralist. And so he single-handedly, well, at least painted, I did some of the research and found some of the images and would scale, but for the most part, he's painted every square centimeter of a 200-foot mural. Unfortunately, he got a scholarship to Cal Arts and has stayed in California, working there after his advanced arts degree.
Unfortunate for who?
Unfortunate for me.
Oh.
But over these past 4 years, he's been in town, 2 or 3 times. He's here today. Actually, he's playing softball and when they make this meeting. There's a good chance he will be here in Memphis for our convention. But so that's Will Shirey. All right. So in the past 4 years, all and a lot of my principal help has died off. I mean, so things I swore I would never do, I've had to do, and it's actually, it's been a real learning experience. But anyway, in the past 4 years, I converted all my locomotives, primarily Tsunami 2s with sound and firebox flicker. We've put lights in all the passenger cars. The SMR metal cars are, I'm gonna say they're polarized. And on a lot of the cars, I've unpolarized them so you don't have shorts when you hook them up backwards. All right, so we have 8 passenger cars. They all have lights. A lot of them have passengers in them as well. Thanks to Marty Vaughn, he's made a lot of figures. In these past couple of years, and I've presented this to group, kind of more formal presentations. We've created some unit trains, 1 or 2 for coal, and also 1 for copper ore. Has brought to Memphis to make bronze. Memphis was actually a kind of medium site for making cannon barrels, especially early in the war. And we also have a pontoon boat unit train, thanks to that wonderful photograph that Joel showed us some time ago. My medical artist, who he finally retired a few years ago, had left the Memphis Roundhouse without a roof. And so I had to roll up my sleeves and built that roof and really enjoyed doing it so much. I've also made a Huntsville machine shop, kind of the same style. I've shown the group my Adams Freight House. We'll see that. Will Shirey and I came up with a nice way for signage around the room. And we've probably doubled the number of figures and tripled the number of artillery your wagons, limbers, and things like that.
Wow.
So this is one of the SMR locomotives. This is the general. In the shops, we converted them from plastic logs to all wood. We put firemen, engineers in most of them, and with LEDs created a firebox flicker, which is a lot of fun, and put the sound, put the speakers in various places. All right, these are the passenger cars. This is after I lighted the last one, and here they are kind of circling the Memphis roundhouse without a roof. All right, so
Wow.
this is another shot. We also put lights in the roundhouses and the car shop. I might have a chance to put in the Huntsville machine shop before y'all get here, but it really it adds a lot. I mean, if you're doing some sort of evening session, you actually can see what's in the buildings.
Nice.
And that pit is brick?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
This pit is brick? Wow.
Yeah, it's some of them are cobblestone, some of them are brick. All right, and I had some of Dave Schneider's coal cars, his pot hoppers, and I had, I think, 12 cars or no, 14 cars. And so as a project in these past couple of years, using a CN milling machine, we measure all the cars. They're not exactly the same, and so you got to kind of tolerance the thing, but use some cedar blocks to make some coal loads, and then we'd get the approximate shape. And then actually cover that with real crushed coal. In Tennessee, was the only source of copper in the Confederacy. And so it was a very important resource. And recent kind of research, I've uncovered at least 2 foundries in Memphis that were using that to cast bronze cannons. They also cast some iron cannons as well. And again, this is some cypress. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody? Nope. All right. So these are also some Dave Schneider ore cars, and took some cypress blocks to kind of make the approximate load, and then actually found some copper ore, crushed that, and then covered those, and it turned out very well.
Wow.
So, and then thanks to Joe, the Western armies had a big need for pontoon boats and pontoon trains, and if you had even one pontoon boat on a wagon, that's actually called a pontoon train, not to be confused with our trains. But it turned out they haul the pontoon boats by rail, get them as close as possible, and then onto wagons. And so in the battle for Chattanooga, at times there were multiple pontoon bridges across the Tennessee River into the Chattanooga area. So that was a big activity. And I made my pontoon boats out of, on a jigsaw, I cut that comb, that skeleton, and then I planked that with individual, like I think 32nd inch thick basswood, and then paint it. And so you get the feeling that it really is a planked boat, because it is. I took some wagons from Berkshire Valley and I stretched them. The pontoon boat wagons had a 15-foot on center wagons, axles. And so, and the standard military wagon was 10. So just made some stretch limos of that.
Huh.
And this is just one of the famous photos after this is the short section across the Tennessee, the Howe Truss at Bridgeport. But they quickly put up these pontoon bridges, and they would use kind of a truss work as far as they could, and they finally had to commit to boats. But it's fascinating to read about the engineering and the utilization of these pontoon boats and bridges. So this is I forget what this, a boat, the first boat closest to the bank had this kind of center spine because it would be accepting timbers in actually two different planes, and they would kind of meet at this this spine. So yeah, it's called a saddle boat.
Do you know on the brake shoes for those wagons, were they have a metal plate or are they just straight wood going against the wheel rim?
You know, that's a good question. I've never seen I don't think I've ever seen a brake handle or a brake arm. And I'm not sure the guys rode on the boat when it was being pulled as a wagon. I don't know if they were just on the horses or walking beside. But I'm not sure. Each boat traveled with 7 timbers, or they're called balks, BALKS. And these balks were 5 inches square in cross section and 27 feet long. And 5 of them would be laid to support the roadbed. And then on top of what are called chessboards, which was the decking, they have one on the left and one on the right to act as a curb to keep people from going over the edge. But it's fascinating to, and these bridges were lashed together. They didn't use nails or bolts and things. They wanted them slightly flexible. And initially, I would shoot the angle on the sides of these boats just with a hand plane. And then later I sanded them on a big sander that worked a lot better. But here's my pontoon bridge underway, and I actually lashed it together as well. It's sewn with scale rope. This is my grandson putting his boats around me there in the water. And here it is finished with the first troops coming over.
Nice.
All right, so and nearby with Bridgeport, I built a loading dock. These boats are taking off there. And then I actually have an entire train, a unit train that when y'all come up here in a couple of weeks, we can run that to resupply the area. But the biggest thing, or maybe the hardest thing I've done in a while, is to make the roof on the Memphis Roundhouse. And so it's 11 stalls. And so you have 22 panels. And so, and none of them are exactly the same. I mean, anyway, so you cut them as close as I could. And again, this is the Huntsville roof and roundhouse that Charlie Curo, a friend of mine, built most of. And this is just a simple die to press a metal shingle just to get that ridge detail. All right, so I've attached the 22 panels actually with machine screws. You know, if you're doing a tiny wood screw, a lot of times you actually get a better hole with a small machine screw. I think these were 440s. Yeah. And so I was actually getting about 3 to 4 threads, and I think 1/8" stock was holding them. And here I am gluing the trim on it. All this trim's got compound angles, so it's kind of a nightmare. I used my paint stirrer to shake the shingles in this caustic solution, ferric chloride. That's what I use to etch the shingles. Sorry. And anyway, it helps out a bunch. And then it's almost like panning for gold. You take them out of that after about 15 minutes, and you kind of rinse them in water, and it's actually changing on you while you're watching that. So, and here I am shingling the roof, and here it's just about complete. All right, and so with the roundhouse off, I took that opportunity to put lights in the roundhouse, and this is just a little jig to keep my chimneys. No, actually, that's just a little jig to push my little gasket down at the base of the smokestacks. And so
What'd you use to make the gasket, Charlie?
It's
Is it rubber?
it's a grommet. Yeah, it's a rubber grommet. And I think for me, I think it's like a 3/8 grommet. And so, the grommet is you put it in a metal bulkhead, to keep the cable from being cut or rubbed.
Right.
Okay. It's and so I would split it in half with a razor blade, and then I would truncate it. I'd trim it slightly side to side, and it came out pretty good looking. And then I filed this piece of plexiglass at that tangent 1/2 angle. I think it's like 22.5 degrees. So I could press it down, snug. All right, so that's the Memphis Peninsula. Also, I've made what I think is the kind of the original Adams Freight House. I won't go into details, but I'm further along than I show here. I hope I had the doors on by the time y'all get here, but anyway.
Me too.
Yeah. All right, and then one of the recent things we've done is the signage, and I'm telling you, it really turned out great. We used that cry-cut machine. Okay, it's kind of a digitally controlled X-Acto knife, but it isn't a stencil. I'm gonna call it a transfer stencil. There's an intermediate step. It'd be impossible to explain, and even after you see it, you think there's some magic in it. But a usual stencil font has bridges into the islands of letters. Okay, like an A and an O. You have to have a little bridge to maintain that land or that island. But this technique, it does the same thing. You don't ever have to. You can use some beautiful fonts with it. And I think this is actually called IFC Railroad, and it's an all caps font. We really liked it, and to get a little more pop, we make the first letter of each word. Maybe it's 30 points, and the rest of the letters are 28 or whatever.
Right.
We have a little difference, but really looked at some different colors and whatnot, and really like this. It's enough contrast that you can read it easily, but once you see it, you kind of forget it. You kind of tune it out. You're not not overwhelmed. All right, so here, this is so we have slightly bigger letters for the cities, Memphis, Chattanooga, Huntsville, and everybody else gets a little smaller thing. So here's the Mobile and Ohio Railroad at Corinth. And then the last thing, we're just about finished with Fort Jones. All right, so Fort Jones was one of 15 to 20 forts guarding Chattanooga, initially a Confederate area, and obviously later Yankee. And so it's also called Battery Hazen at times, and Stone Fort. A lot of photographs back towards Chattanooga, back towards the railroad complex, were taken from this fort. We've got the guns and the crew already done, so hopefully that'll be through.
Better.
Yeah, that backdrop's amazing.
Let me tell you, this is the last thing that Will Showery has painted, and it is it's incredible.
You can really see the difference in his technique from when he started to here. I mean, he's become, this is brilliant.
And realize when you see it in person, it just is scary. So we didn't know what we were going to do with this part of the mural. I originally planned that this would be the tunnel through Missionary Ridge. Well, I already had a good tunnel, and I really didn't want to do that again. And this, it's in the right location where Stone Fort was. And these little figures, I just took this with my iPhone, about an hour ago, and you can just see the shin of the horse. You can see the troops going up the valley. So this is kind of like when Hooker's heading up Lookout Mountain, and so he's passing some of the batteries that were already in place. Sorry, I don't have the guns in here, but this is a real pretty thing to see. We got the fascia board already cut and painted. I just have to glue this down, and then I'll put the fascia on. All right, and I'm frozen. Y'all still there?
Yeah.
We can see it still.
It's the next. Here. I don't know why I can't control it. There we go.
Whoa.
And then the last thing to say is we got reservations for rendezvous for Friday, and they're looking forward to seeing us. And it's a great place for a real Memphis barbecue meal.
Awesome.
All right, and that's all I got.
Wow.
Really good.
As always, awesome. Thank you, Charlie.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic. I stand amazed.
So that roundhouse, you can pick the whole thing up and move it if you need to.
yeah. It's as big as a coffin. Now you don't want to do it too often, but actually, I have it's almost like a scissor jack. Like you hang hats on. You can open it wide. So I have kind of a scissor jack that comes in around and picks up at 4 spots on the roundhouse, and one guy can pick it up like with a suitcase handle. You have to. Yeah, it's probably not real strong in torsion. The building,
right?
And so I like the lights we put in the roundhouse in Memphis so much that I went ahead and lifted the roundhouse off in Huntsville. I had 10 lights in Memphis. I put 20 in Huntsville. And yeah, I'm glad I did, but
That's going to be fun to operate on.
I hope so. Also,
Yeah, yeah, no question. Cool. Thank you, Charlie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm ready to go back up here and work on something. Okay, anybody got anything? Any questions, any comments? Anything else that you would like us to know?
Well, this is not anything that's Civil War related. But Arlington, Vermont is actually the first capital of Vermont back when it was its own country.
Okay.
So
You're really pushing for Vermont PR, aren't you there, Ed? Well, you got some investments?
well, I guess so. Yeah, it's like I actually don't know what Vermont did during the Civil War, but it did, from what I understand, it did play a very large part in the Revolutionary War. But I'm not quite sure what the Civil War involvement was.
I think there may have been a regiment or two contributed to the Union Army. And I think I remember reading there may have been a company or two of Berdan sharpshooters that were from Vermont, that were raised in Vermont. So
You say Vermont was its own country for a while?
Yes. It was, well, from my understanding, they set up as their own country. They made their own coins. They made, they did everything a country would do. It just wasn't recognized by anybody.
Yeah, there's a few of those states.
See, we didn't even realize there's a state down here, but
yeah. Yeah, it's one of the interesting thing is that the Vermont Republic flag is actually being used by the Vermont Coast Guard. And basically what it is, it's a green flag with a blue union with 14 random stars on it. Which I think would make a more unique flag than the current state flag, which looks like it's like a lot of flags, it's the state seal on a blue background.
Seal on a field.
Mm-hmm.
So having a pretty much a green flag would make it stand out, in my opinion.
The Mountain Boys.
Yep.
check showed that there were 18 infantry units from Vermont, regiments from Vermont. And there were a couple of cavalry, and there were some artillery units as well, provided by Vermont. So
All
they
right.
participated.
Good to know. Thank you.
Well, yeah, one thing, Charles, that your presentation brought up for me, when you saw those ore cars, the building on the side there, it looked like it was straight flat roofing. It didn't even look like rolled tar. So we got those 10. I've heard that corrugation had been invented by the Civil War. I don't know if anybody used it, but of different kind of roofs, there's tin, there's slat wood. What other kind of roofing did people use in the Civil War?
Slate.
Slate, you said?
Slate, yes.
Ah, okay.
Slate, wood, overlapped.
You have shake shingles, you have
Yeah.
as Joel said, the overlap.
Yeah, that a lot of the City Point buildings were just boards.
Well, I don't think
Is it vertical overlap?
Yeah.
They're the board goes from the gable to the wall, and then the next board's on top of it, one under it, and that they just kind of layered them open to keep a little bit of the water out.
Think about Lord Batten when the Battens are on steroids.
Yeah, they had lots. They had lots of boards, and not enough. Had no time to make checks.
Wood was cheap back then.
Well, they were only supposed to last, a year.
Yeah, and wood was combustible back then. I mean, you don't want a cedar roof in a roundhouse. You got 11 fire breathing engines underneath. Even the train shed, the Union Depot in Chattanooga, that a real, I mean, tall roof that originally was metal. And then, so, but a lot of other buildings would be shingle or some other thing that wasn't so expensive to put on.
The Savannah machine shop had a little bit of corrugated metal roof left.
Yes, it had a fair amount. Yeah.
Yeah, left on it from origins. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fabulous complex to visit. That was fascinating.
Yep.
When you say shingle, you mean asphalt shingles like what we have today is shingles?
Oh, God, no.
Cedar shakes.
Oh, okay.
Actually, the shakes were probably made of whatever wood they had available.
Yes. If in Williamsburg, if you take the Carpenter's tour, you can see pieces of the original board roofs in Williamsburg that are buried under newer roofs. And the late 1800s house I was raised in, underneath the asphalt shingles were shakes. If you're in the attic, you could see the shakes still. Yeah, so roofing is going to be interesting. And there was a canvas roof called Mulehide, I believe, which had a sand oil mix on it. It was used a lot on boxcars.
Oh, right.
That's what the Philadelphia, Wilmington, and Baltimore used on their roofs.
Yeah.
It's
This is a
described
question
as,
for Ron.
as I was just going to say, it's described as a tan color.
A question for Ron. The Martinsburg roundhouse that we saw a few years ago, that was slate?
I believe so. It's not now, but
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
but the original, right?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
it was a slate roof.
Mhm.
Is that the way you plan on making it, Ron?
Yes.
Cool. Good.
I just have a question for Joel. Was the railroads in Texas, were they standard gauge or were they broad gauge?
There were several things. However, the predominant one, I believe, would be what we would call standard.
Okay.
That's the Harrisonburg, Buffalo Bio. It's the Houston Railroad, Southern Pacific now. But because the locos were manufactured in the East.
Gotcha.
Down.
Yeah, Robert Black's book, The Civil War Railroads, had a couple of beautiful maps showing all the different gauges in the country at the time.
Oh yeah, and the whole country was messed up. So
They were in their evolution.
Yeah, from what I understand, for the Transcontinental Railroad, there was a debate on which gauge that track was going to be. And from what I've read, that actually 5-foot gauge was actually the seemed to be the way that they were in the process of going. But then when the secession happened and all that, all the ones that were for the 5-foot gauge, they left. So that's why it wound up being standard gauge.
I think there was a presidential decision also
Okay.
on that with the in the negotiations for the Transcontinental Railroad Act that set up the funding mechanism for it. All of that stuff was worked out at that point. When I say it was a presidential, it was, I mean, face it, Lincoln was a railroad lawyer.
Illinois Central.
You know, he knew railroads. He had been a railroad lawyer. And I think he probably thought that was a fun thing to do. When he was getting the, because that got started before the end of the war. So.
Now, he was also the lawyer for the Rock Island Railroad. And the Rock Island was one of the railroads that was proposed to build across Iowa and join up with the new Union Pacific. The Rock Island still had the only railroad bridge across the Mississippi at that time. So there might have been a little typical politics going on at that time too.
What a diplomat, John.
Rock Island was Illinois Railroad?
The Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific. Yeah, it started as an Illinois railroad. But when they got to Rock Island, they built the first railroad bridge across the Mississippi.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's sitting right next to the arsenal and right next to the place where many good Confederates spent portions of the war.
Oh, in prison?
Yes. Most of the guys from Vicksburg ended up there. And a lot of Mississippians up there, I recall.
Yeah, I had two great greats spend some quality time up there.
I had a great grandfather spend some quality time up there, and after he was exchanged, he never went back to combat. He stayed in the Confederate Army, but he has moved from hospital to hospital. So he was not in good shape. He didn't live long after the war.
Did your great
But he
have any letters? Charlie?
My dear cousin managed to sell most of those.
Oh. How about you, Charlie? Did
Along
you have
with
any
the-
letters left over from your greats?
No, I have one cousin who's pretty sharp on the history, but we don't have any artifacts.
Okay.
The only thing I have is his cane.
His cane?
His cane was given to him by a friend who was an artist. After the war, he gave him a gold-handled cane. I still have that. Oh, well, John, my son, has it now. I passed it on to him.
Nice.
But that comes back from
That's cool.
from the Civil War.
Wow.
And his grave is in Huntsville, Texas. So
Good. Okay, gentlemen. Just as a heads up, Chris Gerlach offered to do an update on their virtual railroad, and that's going to be October 26th.
Woo.
So I'll keep you posted on that for sure. That should be fun. I know they've been doing a boatload of work on that. So it'll be fun to see what they've accomplished. So with that, we will look forward to seeing you then, and we'll also probably have an update on, not an update, but a review of the meet in Memphis. Lots of photos and maybe some videos. So all the best to everybody. Great to see you. Take care and build something.
Thanks, Tom.
You.
All right. Hey,
Good
thanks,
night,
Tom.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. All right.
Hi, Tom.
Cheers.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting how the conversation wends its way around. Don't forget to turn off the recording.